The stranger at our window. I was 13 the first time I woke to the sound. It wasn't loud, soft, almost polite, but wrong in a way that pried my eyes open. Tap, 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 not wind. Not branch, not house settling. The glow from the street lamp pooled a thin rectangle on my wall. And when I rolled over, I saw why my body had already gone cold. Two pale hands were pressed flat against my bedroom window. Fingers spread as if feeling for warmth through the glass. My room was on the ground floor facing the side yard. The blinds were half open because I fell asleep reading. Through the angled slats, I caught the ghosted oval of a face, too close, breath fogging the pain. My throat locked. I slid out of bed on my stomach like I'd practiced during tornado drills, inching toward the door. The tapping came again, measured, as if whoever was out there wanted me to know they were patient. The hallway nightlight threw a lemony glow. I almost collided with my mother. She was already up, hair loose, eyes wide. "Back in your room," she whispered, her voice a tight wire. "Don't make a sound. There's someone—" "I know." She squeezed my arm and guided me past my door, down the hall toward the living room. The curtains were drawn, every lamp off. My father stood near the front door holding the aluminum bat he kept in the hall closet, knuckles white, jaw set in a line that was unfamiliar. I'd seen him angry, but this was something else. Alert the way a deer is alert, the whole body listening. The tapping moved. We heard it cross the house, my window, then the kitchen, then the sliding glass door in the den. Each contact was precise, a coin dropped on a table. We didn't breathe. We didn't speak. The fridge motor kicked on and I flinched hard enough to rattle the blinds. My mother's hand clamped over mine until my fingers tingled. It stopped. No footsteps, no car. Just the big silence of three people straining to hear what wasn't there. At dawn, my father pulled a slat and peered out. The grass along the side yard was flattened in a narrow path from the fence to my window and back again. In the churned soil beneath the gutter there were impressions that might have been prints, long and smeared like someone had slid a bare foot through mud. He called the police anyway. By the time an officer arrived, the dew had softened everything into suggestion. "Probably kids," he said, eyes already scanning his clipboard for the checkbox he wanted. "Keep your doors locked." That day, we didn't talk about it. My mother made pancakes and burned the first batch. The smoke alarm chirped once, then went quiet. She served the second batch without syrup and didn't notice when I didn't eat. My father installed a dowel rod in the track of the sliding door and moved the bat to the space between the couch and the wall, where it lived so long I stopped seeing it. I told myself it was a one-time thing. That lie worked until a week later, when I came home from practice and found one of our lawn chairs dragged to the side of the house directly beneath my window. The chair's metal legs had left faint trenches in the grass. On the seat was a folded piece of printer paper, edges damp from the afternoon's humidity. 4 words in jagged letters. "You looked right at me. I didn't show my parents. I don't have a good reason." Some part of me felt complicit, like answering a phone you know you shouldn't answer. I slid the paper into the back of my desk drawer under a stack of old report cards and sat on my bed, breathing through my nose until the feeling of being watched receded. After that, the house changed. My father started sleeping on the couch because his back hurt, but I'd hear him sit up at every creak. My mother left the hall lights on and pretended she always had. She began humming when she washed dishes, a tuneless thread that cut off if anyone spoke. Once, near midnight, I heard them murmuring in the kitchen. I couldn't hear the words, only the rhythm of them. My father's low and clipped. My mother's high, then higher, then a sharp inhale like someone had touched something hot. 2 nights later, the tapping came back. Not at my window. At the bathroom window near the laundry room, tap, tap, tap. Then a pause long enough for one breath. A scrape, like a finger dragging through condensation. Another tap. I lay in bed with my palms hot and useless, counting to 60, to 100, to 200, until my chest ached from holding still. The sound didn't move around the house this time. It stayed in one place, as if whoever was out there had chosen a new vantage point. We called the police again. A different officer came. He walked the yard with a flashlight and angled the beam into the bushes, as though the culprit might be crouching there waiting to be discovered. When he came back inside, he talked about false alarms and the power of suggestion. He gave my father a brochure about Neighborhood Watch. That night, my father locked our bedroom doors from the inside, something we'd never done, and I lay awake mapping the house in my head, plotting how to get to them if I needed to. School frayed. I drifted through classes with my body there and my mind on the windows. My best friend Joel asked why I'd stopped riding bikes after dinner. I said homework. He said I'd changed. I said we all had. He said, not like that. I didn't have anything else. One afternoon, our guidance counselor gave a talk about safety. "Trust your instincts," she said, pressing her palms together in a steeple. "If something feels off, tell an adult you trust." I thought of the brochure folded on our counter, of my father's hands shaking when he poured coffee he swore he didn't need, of my mother's humming that rose like steam and vanished like it too. Adults I trusted were already full. The third time happened when it rained. The storm was a slow, soaking kind that made the whole house smell like wet leaves. The tapping was different in the rain, duller as if the water thickened the glass. What made me sit up wasn't the sound. It was the light. A thin, moving beam slurred across my ceiling. I looked toward the window and saw a line of white skating along the top of the blind, stopping, returning, stopping again. A flashlight held close. I stood, not crawling this time, and pulled the cord in one motion. The blind clattered up. Outside, on the other side of the pane, a face flinched back from the sudden exposure. It was a man, older than I'd expected. Hair dark and plastered to his skull, cheeks hollowed in a way that made his eyes seem too big. The flashlight hung from a strap around his wrist and swung once like a pendulum. He didn't run. Neither did I. We stared at one another through our reflections. Rain pebbled down the glass between us. He smiled, though the word feels wrong for what his mouth did. It was small and tight, a motion that moved only the corners. He lifted his palm and pressed it to the pane the way he had that first night, and for one stupid second I mirrored him. When my hand met the cool glass, his fingers spread as if to catch mine. His skin was pale and the nails were clean and trimmed. That detail snagged in me. Clean nails! I stepped back. He didn't follow with his body, but the flashlight swung closer, and the light jittered up my shirt, my face, like an insect's wing beat. From the hall came my father's run, bare feet on hardwood, fast, no caution this time. The man's head jerked. Then he was gone. A smear of motion melting into rain and laurel and the dark. The back door flew open. My father's silhouette cut the gray. "Stay inside!" he shouted without turning. I heard the gate wheeze on its hinges, then the wet thud of steps in grass, the muffled curse when he slipped, and after that only rain like static on an old TV. He came back empty. Water spattered off the bat as he leaned it against the wall. He knelt and put his hands on my shoulders, not to comfort me but to make sure I was there. His breath steamed. "You look at me," he said, voice steady by force. "Tell me what you saw." I told him about the flashlight, the clean nails, the smile that wasn't. I didn't tell him about my palm against the glass. He pressed his lips together. "You don't open your blinds at night anymore," he said. "You don't, promise me." I nodded. He didn't let go for a long time. After that, the rules changed. Curtains closed at sunset. No headphones after 10. Bedroom doors cracked so they could hear. My mother started placing a chair under the front doorknob at bedtime, wedged on its back legs so the knob couldn't turn. She said it was for drafts. My father put bells on the gate. He said it was for the dog we didn't have. There were no more tap, tap, taps. Instead, there were signs that felt like private messages. The lawn chair returned to my window twice more, though we never left it there. Once we found the chair upside down with one leg bent like a broken knee. Once the trash can lids were stacked. One, then the next, precariously high, a child's tower made by adult hands. The police stopped coming. Without evidence, the dispatcher said, and the word evidence looked like a wall I could not climb. In October, Joel slept over because I begged him to. We lay on my floor under a fort of couch cushions and told each other the truths 13-year-olds are brave enough to test. He said he'd kissed a girl behind the bleachers. I said I believed him and didn't. He said I breathed funny when I fell asleep. I said he did too. It rained again late that night, a clean, cold rain that made the gutters sound like someone shaking a bag of nails. I drifted. Near 3 a.m., something woke me hard. Not a sound. A feeling, like when someone walks into a room and the air shifts. I pushed out from under the blanket. The blinds were down. I could see only the thin glow of the yard light printed on them. Joel snored softly. I padded into the hall for water and past my parents' room. The door was open a hand's width. As I moved by, their voices rose through the crack, whispers snapping like flags. "It was him," my mother said. "I heard the gate." "You heard the bells," my father said. "Wind can move." "Don't do that," she said, sharper than I'd ever heard her. "Don't make me feel crazy to make yourself feel brave." Silence. Then my father, softer. "We call in the morning. We ask for a patrol. You know they won't come." Her breath shook. "We should never have moved here." "Don't say that in front of him." "In front of him?" Her voice bled into a laugh that wasn't a laugh. "He's the one they want." My mouth went dry. I backed away until the hallway widened behind me and I could breathe again. In the kitchen, I stood at the sink and let the water run longer than necessary to cover whatever I was thinking. When I shut it off, the house was so quiet I could hear rain ticking on the range hood. The next day, I asked my mother what she meant. "He's the one they want." She was peeling oranges into undulating strips, eyes on the knife. "Figure of speech," she said. I was tired. "Who are they?" She looked up, met my eyes, and smiled the way people smile at funerals when they want to offer warmth without offering hope. "No one," she said. "Not anymore." When I was 17, cleaning out the hall closet, I found a cardboard file box wedged behind winter coats. It was heavier than it looked. Inside were clippings, small-town newspapers with headlines like "Homeowner Confronts Trespasser," "Patrols Increased Near Greenbelt," "Neighborhood Watch Meets at Library." Some were circled in red pen. Dates spanned 2 years. In one article, the reporter quoted a resident on Birch Lane who had woken to tapping on a child's window. We keep our lights on at night now, the resident said. The paper wasn't ours, but Birch Lane ran parallel to our street with only the green belt in between. The thing that chilled me most wasn't the pattern. It was the ending. The report stopped. There was no final story that said arrest made. Just nothing, as if a page had been torn out. I showed my father the box. He pinched the bridge of his nose, then took my hand and guided me to the patio. The yard had been recently cut. The bells on the gate were tarnished. He sat and let the bat rest across his knees like it belonged there. "You were a kid," he said. "We tried to keep you a kid. That was the job. Who was it?" I asked. "Did you know?" He looked past me to the trees, which were green and full and harmless in daylight. "There's a kind of person who doesn't want anything you can give," he said. "It's not about money. It's not even about you. It's about what it feels like to take attention out of a house and hold it in their hands. They ring a bell and you stop breathing. That's the thing they want. Why my window?" He took a long breath. "Because it worked. I wanted to accuse him. I wanted to say he should have sent me away to my aunt's or slept on the floor outside my door every night for a year. Anything. Instead, I said the truest thing I knew. I pressed my hand to the glass, I admitted, and he closed his eyes. We moved the summer after I graduated. The house sold fast because it backed up to trees and people like to imagine the woods as a feature. On the last day, I pulled open my desk drawer to make sure it was empty. The note was still there, damp edges fused to old report cards. You looked right at me. The handwriting was smaller than I remembered, the letters more careful. I slid the paper into a book and taped the book shut without knowing why. I left the lawn chair. I took the bells off the gate and hid them in the attic because I couldn't stand hearing them again in some other yard. I'm 29 now. I live in an apartment on the 3rd floor with a view of a parking lot and 0 trees. My windows are new and stubborn and make a hiss when you lock them, a sound I love. I run a box fan at night so I can't hear my own heartbeat. Some weekends I drive back through town. The house looks smaller every year. The new owners replaced my window with a bay, bright and confident. They stacked cinder blocks into flower beds and painted the porch blue. Sometimes there's a kiddie pool in the yard, green hose snaking across grass, laughter pinging off the siding. I never stop the car. I never ring the bell. In a box in my closet, the old bells lie tangled in a scarf. The bat leans behind my bedroom door because I don't own it the way my father did. It owns me. I haven't had a visitor in the night in 16 years, and still, if I wake for no reason at 3 a.m., I hold my breath and listen for a sound I could identify anywhere. The smallest, most patient tap in the world. I don't know what he wanted. I don't know if it was one person or more. I don't know why the clipping stopped. The last thing I do before sleep is check the locks, not because I think metal will save me, but because the ritual is an answer to a question no one ever asked out loud. Sometimes, when the bedroom is dark and the fan drones and the lights from the parking lot throw their watery stripes across the ceiling, I lift my hand and stare at the shape it makes. 5 shadows on white paint, palm wide, fingers spread. After a minute, I lower it. The wall is cool. My skin warms. The gesture means nothing and also everything. I see you. I saw you. I wish I didn't.